Could I have a motion that the closed meeting be closed and that the board certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting to which this certification applies, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion concerning the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Bailey, seconded by Mr. Johnson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Now, if you'll all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, I believe we have some recognitions in the room. And Dr. Matney, maybe if they, well, I don't know, there's quite a few of them tonight, isn't there? We may not be able to get around to, you think we can?
It's your call, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, but
Well, we
we
could-
are allotted at the end of the year, and therefore we have a nice big room, and we appreciate that. And
Yes.
I did also want to say that I do not have the plague of any type. It's just a matter that a couple of board members have. So, but I think it's time to just go ahead and go with them, and then we can decide as we see them.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Chairman Ritchie, Vice Chair Bailey, Mr. Williams, good evening. Tonight it is our pleasure to present to you our high school seniors of the month for the month of both April and May, as well as one outstanding from last month for the month of March. And I'd like to commence with the good Mr. Hester Qualley Kawan Hester, Bluestone High School Senior of the Month for, I'm not loud enough. That'll do it. Okay, Mr. Hester, if you'd come on forward. This is Bluestone High School Senior of the Month for the month of April. The godson of Ms. Joanne Ash and a resident of Chase City, Qualley attends Greater Union Baptist Church. Those who know him applaud his effervescent personality. Show him that personality. There you go. And strong work ethic. According to his government teacher, Richard Brown, Qualley is a hardworking student whose attributes of kindness and respectfulness do not go unnoticed. He has been and will continue to be a wonderful asset to his community. Qualley, who reports that his favorite subject is mathematics, is a member of the Bluestone High School varsity football and basketball squads. His coach, Benjamin Sizemore, states, Qualley was an outstanding contributor to the basketball team this year. He was dedicated, easy to coach, and rendered standout leadership throughout the season. In the classroom, he is also a fine student, always contributing to our discussions and interactions. He was a joy to have as both a student and a player. He has aspirations to join the military upon commencement, and I anticipate that he will serve our country well and become a model serviceman. Outside of school, Qualley spends his time continuing his passion for all things sport, all things athletic, including working out. Nice. Show us that smile. That's right. He wants to remain physically fit as he plans to attend college while in the United States Army, majoring in human services. Bluestone High School is pleased to have Qualley Hester represent the Mighty Barons as its April Senior of the Month. Congratulations. Next, we have the good Tariq Russell. Mr. Russell, if you'd come forward. Applaud for him. Let me tell you some good things about Tariq. He is the son of Cherie and Larry Russell of La Crosse. And of course, he again is Parkview High School Senior of the Month for the month of April. His teachers describe Tariq as a kind and outstanding young man whose bright and contagious smile, here's another smile, I like this, always stands out and never fails to light up the room. Tanya Dunn, Tariq's marketing teacher, states that Tariq is an exceptional student. He is always ready to learn and help others. Delightful and well-mannered, he encourages others to do well, and daily manifests an exceptional work ethic. His positive, cheerful, cooperative attitude makes him a joy to have in class. Tariq has a passion for both drawing and automobiles and spends much of his free time engaged in one of these activities. Is that true? Okay, very good. Yet, as his instructors note, free time is hard to come by for this young man, as he has stayed busy as a stocker and customer liaison at Food Lion, a cook at Bojangles, I like that, and currently as a cashier and sales associate at Walmart. Upon graduation, Tariq plans to serve our nation by joining the United States Air Force. Parkview High School is proud to have Tariq Russell representing the Dragons as the April Senior of the Month. Congratulations. Next, we have Emily Grace Randall. If you'd come forward, Emily. Emily is Bluestone High School Senior of the Month for May. The daughter of the Reverend and Mrs. Greg Randall and a resident of Clarksville, she is a member of Clarksville Baptist Church and participates regularly in Wednesday night activities teaching young people biblical principles through skits and play. A candidate for an associate's degree upon commencement, Emily will earn the Commonwealth Advanced Studies Diploma upon graduation. She remains busy as a member of the Marching Barons, their ACE team, and the Beta Club. Her chemistry teacher, Rebecca Bowen, notes Emily's service in delivering afternoon announcements, tutoring her classmates, and even helping craft a yearbook for her colleagues also attending Governor's School. Was that your idea? Excellent. She also is an avid researcher, recently studying the generation of bioluminescent bacteria. Is that right? Does that mean they glow in the dark? Okay, great. And presenting her findings to a host of faculty and students at James Madison University. She enjoys playing the ukulele, and her favorite pastime is reading, where she particularly enjoys the works of Arthur Matthew Quick. She has been accepted to George Mason University, but is eagerly awaiting, I'm told, to hear from New York University, as well as Longwood, planning to major in psychology and minor in social work. She would like to counsel others and possibly one day even teach. Very good. Bluestone High School is proud to have Emily Randall represent the Barons as their May Senior of the Month. Congratulations. Where is the good Mary Elizabeth Brown? Mary is Parkview High School Senior of the Month for May. Come stand next to me and improve my image. There you go. The daughter of Tony and Carol Brown of Kenbridge, Mary is, according to science teacher Catherine Baird, an excellent representative for Parkview. Always kind, always polite. She always does her best in class under every circumstance. She's a member of the cheerleading squad, where she serves as captain. She is a member of the FFA, where she serves as president. And she's also a member of HOSA, where she has received her CNA license. She's also an integral part of both the yearbook staff and the prom committee. All that true? Oh, I know. Excellent. Outside of school, she is a member of the Impact Youth Group, Feed the 5,000, and has also worked at the Impact Church of God Daycare and at Luca's Italian Restaurant, one of my favorites. Tiffany Lynch, her teacher, notes, Mary is just an all-around wonderful young lady who does not sign up for classes or activities for the credit or the recognition, but rather so that she may help others and make a difference. She consistently seeks feedback on how she can improve, dedicated to lifetime learning. In her free time, she enjoys spending time with her friends and her nephews, painting, and shopping. After graduation, she plans to attend Randolph-Macon, where she hopes to major in nursing and minor in education. Parkview High School is proud and honored to recognize Mary Brown as the May Senior of the Month. And asking the indulgence of the board, you may recall that last month we had a young man who was serving as an ambassador for his school in an athletic competition, and he couldn't be with us, but he is here this evening, and I'd like to call on Reed Piercy, who is the March Senior of the Month at the good Parkview High School. I understand that just this week, Reed and his family found out that he has now got the difficult decision of picking between and among 3 college acceptances, including the University of Virginia, Duke University, and Harvard University. Let me quickly tell you a bit more about Reed. Thoroughly involved in the life of his alma mater, he is enrolled in the STEM program at the Governor's School, is a student body president, is a member of the Beta Club, member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, middle infielder for the baseball team, and was a shooting guard on the basketball squad as a sophomore. He also plays trombone in the band, A Renaissance Man. Rosa Dunn reads political science and government teacher states Reed is an amazing individual. He is one of the brightest students that I have ever had the pleasure of teaching. That being said, Reed is not one to ever boast about what he knows. He is amazingly humble. In the community, he is a member of the Tabernacle Baptist Church Youth Group and is part of the Southside Pirates travel baseball team. He's been recognized as a National Merit Commended Scholar and was also recognized before this body in December, as you will recall, for a silver medal performance in the statewide Virginia Chemistry Olympiad. Again, I had here earlier that he plans to study mathematics at the University of Virginia, but again, with Duke and Harvard coming to call, that's still up in the air, right? Yes, indeed. Parkview High School, and we are proud to honor Reed Piercy as its March Senior of the Month.
Ms. Rogers?
Good evening. It is my distinct pleasure this evening to recognize some very special students and their accomplishments. I would like to begin with the Piedmont Area Reading Council Young Writers Contest. We had one teacher to participate in this contest from Clarksville Elementary, Ms. Janet Barracks, who teaches 5th grade. And from her class, we have one student who placed first in the essay component at the regional level. I would like to recognize tonight Emily Morrison for this outstanding accomplishment. Next, I would like to recognize our Destination Imagination teams for 2017-18 school year. For those that may not know, Destination Imagination, or DI, is a nonprofit organization that runs a global program. The organization poses a set of project-based challenges, and groups of kids from around the world choose one problem to address, working in teams. This is called the Team Challenge. There is also an instant challenge component that students must solve in a matter of a few minutes. This is designed to help students build their quick, creative, and critical thinking skills. Tonight I'm going to ask Miss Amy Height, a veteran DI coach for us, to come forward to help me with these. And she didn't know I was going to do that. She has coached for us for many years, but decided this year she had the calling, and she is actually serving as our Southwest Regional Director, which is a volunteer position completely. They don't even pay her, and she put in way more hours than probably all of us combined for DI this year. So she's going to help me handing out the certificates tonight. Our first team from Chase City Elementary, the Mystery Explorers, their team manager, Miss Alyssa Holt. The Mystery Explorers placed first at regionals and 7th place at state. The members, Connor Champion, Connor DiCarlo, Savannah Allen, Dylan Coleman, and Ethan Peterson. Our next team from South Hill Elementary, the Delios. Team manager is Miss Nicole Deal. The Delios earned the top score for Instant Challenge for the elementary level at the boot camp that Ms. Height hosted at Clarksville Elementary, placed first place at regionals, fifth at state, with a first place in the Instant Challenge component, which earned them a wild card lottery chance for globals, which we will find out by the end of this week if we are going. The members of the Delios: Adam Jones, Colin Eisenhower, Colin Smith, Hayden Black, Jackson Eisenhower, and Jordan Rogers. Oh, and Molly Deal, I'm sorry. The next two teams are from Parkview Middle. The team manager, Catherine Peters, could not be here tonight, but we want to recognize her for all of her hard work in managing two teams this year. The first team, the Folded Towels, they are Wyatt Alexander, Stephen Arthur, Miguel Ballesteros, Jewel Fenwick, David Gerst, and Kira Patton. And this team placed first in regionals and ninth at state. The next Parkview Middle team named themselves a tie just because they wanted, when they were announcing the winners at the end of the competition, if they said, and the winner is a tie, they wanted everybody to get confused and think there was a tie for first place. So they get to come up with their own names, as you can tell. The members of this team are James Ethan Black, Nathan Bowen, Dylan Cook, Logan Palacios, Camden Pulley, Elizabeth Ritchie, and Rachel Ritchie. This team also won the highest instant challenge score for the middle school level at the boot camp, first place in regionals, 10th in state, and the highest instant challenge score at states, which also earned them a wild card lottery for globals. They will also find out by the end of this week if they are getting to go. And last but certainly not least, from Clarksville Elementary, the Ooga Boogas of 2118, team manager Melissa Chumney. This team won first place in Fine Arts Challenge at regionals, first place Instant Challenge at regional. They also won the Renaissance Award. At state, they placed second place, and they are going to globals in Knoxville, Tennessee, the end of May. Taryn Barnett, Nolan Bowen, Slate George. Eliza Hatcher. Addison Tharp. And DeAndre Watson. So if you see any fundraising going on for any of the DI teams, you will know what they're fundraising for to pay the trip to Tennessee, so please help us out in any way you can. I also want to take a couple of minutes and just tell you about this special shirt. All of the students in the Southwest region were given the opportunity to create a piece of artwork to go on the regional t-shirt, and our t-shirt this year that represents all of the Southwest region was created by two of our very own students. Slate George created the back. And Connor Champion designed the front. So come on up. Thank you. Thank you. He's like a little Brett Ritchie.
And Mr. Ritchie, I would not want to deny you the opportunity to shake your own daughter's hands for anything here. So if the students would come back up so that we can go through, we'd let them know how proud they are. So all of the students, please come up and line up with a board would like to come out and congratulate you personally.
Including the seniors of the month.
Including the seniors of the month, that's right, all of the students that were just given awards. Members of the board, we also have very special recognition this time of year. Ms. Alga is going to be coming up and presenting our Teachers of the Year and the District Teacher of the Year.
Good evening, board members, board chairman, and Mr. Nichols. Mr. Nichols is correct. It is my wonderful honor to present to you this evening our Teachers of the Year from our school. So last month, the faculties at each school within the division honored one teacher in their building as the Teacher of the Year. The criteria for the selection included the teacher's involvement in school, professional, civic, and/or extracurricular activities, but more importantly, the selection of the teacher focused on how the teacher encourages, motivates, and instills in his or her students a desire to learn and achieve, demonstrates a thorough knowledge of the subject matter taught, fosters cooperative relationships with colleagues and the community, and demonstrates outstanding leadership. Teachers selected for this honor are as follows, and please come forward when I call your name. Representing Chase City Elementary School, Mrs. Gina Carter. So, Mrs. Carter has served as a teacher with Mecklenburg County Public Schools for 29 years and currently teaches first grade at Chase City Elementary. Her colleagues describe her as a stellar example of what it means to be a hardworking, dedicated individual in the education profession. Her passion and compassion for her students resonates throughout their building. And yes, she is a shining example of excellence in her classroom and in our educational community. Congratulations, Ms. Carter. Representing Clarksville Elementary School, Mrs. Diana Rose. Please come forward. Congratulations. Mrs. Diana Rose has served as an educator for 33 years, 31 of those years with Mecklenburg County Public Schools. Currently, Mrs. Rose serves as the reading specialist at Clarksville Elementary School. Her colleagues at Clarksville describe her as passionate about reading and one who works tirelessly to promote reading throughout the school. They go on to say that her willingness to always help students and colleagues greatly enhances the educational experience for everyone at Clarksville Elementary, and Ms. Rose is truly an outstanding educator. Congratulations, Ms. Rose. Representing La Crosse Elementary School, Mrs. Robin Powell. Mrs. Powell has served as a teacher with Mecklenburg County Public Schools for 28 years and currently teaches kindergarten at La Crosse Elementary. Mrs. Powell's colleagues note that she is full of life and energy and is always willing to try new ideas and strategies that support her students and instruction in the school. With her energy and excitement for learning, Mrs. Powell excels as an educator. Congratulations, Ms. Powell. Representing South Hill Elementary School, Ms. Felicia Broadnax. Ms. Broadnax has been an educator for 16 years, 9 of those years with Mecklenburg County Public Schools. Currently, she is a special education teacher at South Hill Elementary School, and as she calls them, her babies is where she works every day. Her colleagues describe her as a positive member of their staff, always willing to help others. Mrs. Broadnax is a wonderful asset to the school and brings cheerfulness and caring to students and staff at South Hill Elementary. Congratulations, Ms. Broadnax. Representing Bluestone Middle School, Mr. Daniel Wilson. Mr. Wilson has served as a mathematics teacher at Bluestone Middle School for the past 9 years. His colleagues note that his students are always actively engaged in his mathematics classes. They further shared that Mr. Wilson is not only a great teacher, but also an excellent mentor. Mr. Wilson also coaches and is involved beyond the classroom in mentoring his students. Congratulations, Mr. Wilson. From Parkview Middle School, Ms. Yvette Morris. Ms. Morris has served as the teacher with Mecklenburg County Public Schools for 27 years. She currently teaches 7th grade mathematics. Her Parkview Middle School colleagues describe her as a leader in the school, where she is admired by students and her peers for her strong work ethic, her humble mannerisms, and her strong character. Congratulations, Ms. Morris. From Bluestone High School, Mrs. Sharon Wheely. Mrs. Wheely has served as an educator for 10 years, 8 of those years with Mecklenburg County Public Schools. She currently teaches world history, her passion. Mrs. Wheely's colleagues shared that she is a model teacher and possesses the traits of knowledge, concern, empathy, enthusiasm, encouragement, and passion that one would expect in an outstanding educator. Congratulations, Ms. Wheely. And the Teacher of the Year for Parkview High School, Mrs. Catherine Baird. Congratulations. Mrs. Baird has served as a teacher for 29 years, with the past 11 years teaching in Mecklenburg County Public Schools. She currently teaches Earth Science at Parkview High School, but that's subject to change any given moment from time to time. Mrs. Baird's colleagues state that she is a pivotal faculty member who goes above and beyond as a teacher. They further share that she is an awesome, hardworking, veteran teacher who is respected by her students and peers. Congratulations, Mrs. Baird. Over at all of our School Teachers of the Year, I'm going to announce our Division Teacher of the Year. Okay? Ma'am? Yes, I would love for you to. Hey. Yeah. as you all know, we don't normally announce our Division Teacher of the Year at this event. However, this outstanding group, just let me give you a little bit of background information about this group of teachers that you have here in front of you. They represent 181 years of teaching wisdom and experience. And we are grateful to you for all that you give to the children of Mecklenburg County Public Schools, because I know you're working hard every day, and we so appreciate those efforts. So I want to say congratulations to all of you. So while we recognize that this is a very busy time of the year, and it's really hard to work this in because of SOL testing and all of the end of the year events and things that are happening in the schools, so we thought that this evening would be an appropriate time to make this announcement. So on Thursday of last week, each of these individuals met with Mrs. Tiffany Lynch, the former, or current, I guess I should say, Mecklenburg County Public Schools Teacher of the Year, as well as the Region 8 Teacher of the Year. So we are honored to have her as a representative of that, along with Dr. Christy Somerville-Majette and with Dr. Brian Matney. And we had the opportunity to get to know these folks a little bit better. And at that time, we had to make a really tough decision, and I know that you can appreciate how very difficult that decision was, because truly all of these are outstanding educators. So at this time, if Dr. Matney would please come forward with our flowers and our balloons for our Division Teacher of the Year. It is my honor and my pleasure to announce to you that the Division Teacher of the Year is Parkview Middle School's Yvette Morris. Congratulations. Thank you all.
Yeah. Before you leave, let's come down real quick and speak to one more group here.
You know she lost her husband last year. Heart attack.
Yes.
She taught all my kids math.
And Mr. Ritchie, before they all get away and as they're attending to some of the components, I don't know how many of them will stay for a long time, but I do want to say that I think this is a special group this year. Not only the group that have been awarded and nominated and identified as Teachers of the Year from their building, but from their division. But I think all of our teachers this year deserve a special hand of applause, because I'm thankful to say I've got more years than, not all of them combined, but any of them individually in education. And in my years working with many school systems across the state, in Mecklenburg County, I think we've had the most difficult year we've ever had. We've had the longest winter. We've had the most number of tragedies for both students and teachers, retired teachers. We've had just one thing right after another that's been difficult for everybody, and these are examples of teachers that have stuck it out and gone the extra mile, recognized the hardships but continued to climb the mountain. And I know they're all joining with me in prayer that there will not be any other years like this year altogether, but that we will all see that from this experience this year, that there will just be a totally new light for all of us at the end of the tunnel for the years that are to coming. And we just are thankful to all of them for their service and dedication. And I just, on behalf of all of them, want to speak to that and say thank you, a very special thank you, and another round of applause for them. So, if you don't mind, we'll just move right along for the meeting tonight. First two items on my report have to do with some field trips that you will be voting on later on tonight. We have the Bluestone High School Beta field trip overnight to the National Convention in Savannah, Georgia, June the 16th through the 20th, that you'll be asked to vote on. And then also to the Bluestone High School VHSL Student Leadership Overnight Field Trip to North Chesterfield, Virginia on April 13th and 14th, which we've already had them go to, but we want to make it official tonight. So those two items will be on the agenda. If anybody has any questions, we'll discuss it. Okay, next month, that's right. Excuse me. And then Ms. Alga is probably congratulating some people. We might be putting this off a little bit, but there is a policy update. You know you will be voting tonight on the items that she presented to you last month, and you've had the month to be able to look at those items and consider any questions that you might have. And then tonight as well, she will be presenting with you actually quite a few policy issues that have come up from the School Board Association that we want you to be looking over and voting on at the May meeting. So, Ms. Alka, I hate to rush you, but if you're ready, if we can go ahead and present these, we'd appreciate it.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Nichols. You have a very thick packet. If you were to print it out, it would look like this of board updates. And you may or may not know that these do come in a batch, and this is how they are presented to us for updates. Some of them have significant changes as far as how it's worded and so on. Some of them have very few changes, but these are the policies that are in place. And I want to just mention a couple of things to you. For policy BBFA, if you're looking at that first sheet that says updates and revisions that I uploaded on Board Docs, where you see option 2, because we are in planning district 13, we have to follow option 2. They have an option 1, option 2. So we follow option 2 for BBFA. And then I also want to point out to you that GAH, School Employee Conflict of Interest, that is a new policy. So we have not had that in our policy manual previously, and I wanted to bring that to your attention. Also, GCCB is driven by our planning district, that option 2. And I believe, I also wanted to bring you to your attention that we talked about some regulations, a regulation for the administration of medicines and handling, storage, monitoring, documentation, and disposal of medications to students. That regulation has been added to this batch, so to speak. So I have put those on Board Docs by section, A, B, C, D, and so on. If you have any questions about any of them, please feel free to give me a call. They are verbatim from the VSBA. So anybody have any questions at this point?
Or questions from last month on what we'll be voting tonight.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Alga. Reminder to the board members that, yes, we are at the end of spring semester, and we will begin SOL testing on April the 24th at our schools, and it's ending just before graduation. Graduation this year comes up in May. Actually, the first year I remember that we will have a graduation ceremony before we have our May meeting. So please keep that in mind, and we would look forward to seeing all of you at one or the other or both of our graduation ceremonies in May. Some special issues tonight for comments, some with voting opportunities for you tonight. One of the primary ones is you will notice that we will be actually voting on the architect's contract. And I know that you selected the architect at the last month. Tonight is the night we've had the month to be reviewing the contract, going through that. You had a chance to meet with the architect, ask questions, talk about the issues that are there. I've had the opportunity to put that information before our school board attorney's office. There's been some negotiations that have come and gone, but I sent you a copy of the final draft tonight, or excuse me, last Friday, and that will be important. And it will be particularly important because also tonight, as it's actually a part of our budget, but we needed to be able to get to the point of to choosing the architect. We will, with the choice of the architect, be paying, beginning payments on the bond referendum that the Board of Supervisors gave us in the first half of the expected budget for the program for the new schools back in last October. And the first of those payments for the 5% that is required to go with the bond will be May the 7th. So having the architect's contract in place will be very important. And then beginning in January, we'll begin the annual payments for the repayment of the bond. So they will be on tonight's agenda as well. I'm also excited because since we've had the notification and identification of the architects, they are actually already beginning to meet. We've had meetings with the athletic committee. We've had meetings with business and industry leaders in the community. We've had some meetings with teachers. We will be having some more beginning tomorrow. The administrators are meeting tomorrow at the secondary level with the architects to begin some discussion there with things that they will be looking for and to give them a complete update on the timeline and so forth. So all of those things will be very important. But we're also excited. They met with the athletic committee, and we had representatives from BSN Sports that actually have put together a wonderful group and opportunity for us to begin the process of selecting the new team brands and looking at what will be the new mascot for our teams, the school colors. It becomes important for us to begin looking at these types of things because we want to get our students and our community enthusiastic about the process and getting started with that. There are components of that we will probably be building into some of the colors for the schools, beginning to build into what we will put into our facilities. And each of you, I have given some information that has been provided tonight by this company that is making this opportunity available. Actually, they will help us with the marketing to the degree that it would be our own mascot imaging. So all of the sweatshirts and T-shirts and hats and things of that nature that go along with it will be our own as we make these decisions. And our goal is to begin getting the information out to the students and to the schools to have them help make the selection for these opportunities beginning immediately as we move into this. And so we have representatives of the company that are here tonight, and I don't know what questions you might have, but they're here to answer any of those questions if you wanted to come up and share a few words.
Good evening. My name is Ted Salmon, and I represent the Herb Jones Company, which is one of 4 companies that make up Varsity Brands. Varsity Brands, we did have the opportunity to meet on several occasions here, and once with, most recently with the athletic committee. And Varsity Brands composes BSN, Varsity Spirit, which is your cheer specialists who do everything from competitions and the camps through the equipment, Scholastic Yearbook, and the Scholastic Division. I represent the Scholastic Division as a local rep, and we do caps and gowns and custom gowns for most of our schools, and we also do class rings, diplomas, and all of those. And all of those are part of the Varsity Brands, and Varsity Brands put together a program called Impact to help its partner schools to build their brands, to build school spirit, to build community spirit in the schools, and has put together one division headed by Julie Norton Jackson, who came here and met with us, and she's from Dallas, Texas, and she deals exclusively with new schools to help them build their brand and build their identity prior to the school opening, from everything to what the mascot is, to by designing it and promoting it and providing it to you, to actually sending reps to meet with the stakeholders prior to the opening, so that when you open the doors, you're ready for day one of what's that first day going to look like, what's that first pep rally going to look like, what is that first game going to look like, because building school spirit and building pride in that school is going to be a critical element about what you're doing here, which is a great opportunity for Mecklenburg County. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Might just mention that without even, this is the first time it's been mentioned outside of one of our committees. And I think already some of the people in the community are anticipating being a part of that process. And I've heard some very interesting names that have come up seen some of them on Facebook and other places about what it might be. But we know we want the students and teachers in the schools to be a big part of that selection process and building that enthusiasm. So we're excited now that we'll be able to start that process.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you present designs for us to choose from, or are you going to take designs that are drawn or suggested from the community and the students and go with that?
VIP, Varsity Brands owns VIP branding in California. VIP branding works exclusively with schools. It does not work with other businesses. And it builds your brand and your mascot based on the input of your stakeholders. What you want, you tell the VIP branding what you want, and they build it for you for your approval. And then once they have done that, then they will provide you a branding guide to help promote the brand, and they will also present you with 10 brands, mascots, seals to put in a locked file that you have the password protection on, so that you can provide it to someone to put on notebooks or something like that, or sweatshirts or uniforms, but you have control over those brands. Many schools, up to about 40% of high schools, have brands that actually belong to colleges or someone else. This would be exclusively for Mecklenburg County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comment that I may have. I pretty much know the answer, but I'd like for you to answer it so that others will know. You've been working with this county for a guesstimation of years?
For Herff Jones or
Herff
the
Jones.
brands together?
Herff
'Cause
Jones.
Herff Jones has been working with schools in Mecklenburg for, I haven't been there that long, but I think in the 20s, the number of years that they've been working with the schools. I know that BSN is very active and works with both the schools. I don't know about Cheer. I think probably some because of their extensive networks, and then the yearbook is also part of that. But most of the schools work with these divisions and have been working with these divisions in the past. In addition to the branding, which is the first element, is the branding, which is to get what you want and what your community will be proud of, but also then the facility branding package, where they will come in without cost to you and provide the 30 by 60 avenue banners, the media backdrop, car decals, pop-up tent, custom rugs, all branded for Mecklenburg County, so that when you come by this new facility, there will be no doubt what the name of it is, what the mascot is, what the colors are, because they will help make this facility very special for Mecklenburg County.
I have one question.
All right.
Thank you for coming and explaining that to us. Do you have an idea of the time that it takes to go through this development process?
I was part of last year branding a school in Culpeper County that after we met with them, they were able to come back within a matter of weeks to come up with mascots and designs. They're for your approval. They are not for them to tell you what you're going to want. It's what you want to represent your county. But they will work with you immediately to do that. I am working with a school in Richmond that recently, end of January, signed a varsity impact program with us. They already have their avenue banners in the school. They have all their car decals. They have their media backdrop. Everything that we had in that package is in that building right now. So
So
they
that-
really move along pretty
3
quickly on
months
this.
is all it took for that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could I give one quick other thing? They will actually, the Spirit part will actually, Spirit Work will actually send in representatives prior to the opening to work with you. I think I mentioned that earlier, to make sure you have the opportunity to take advantage of the professionals who come in to really assist you to build this.
Mr. Ritchie,
Yes, sir.
some of the schools now are currently using it. When parents order their shirts and hats and everything online, that's part of this company. The other piece that we hope to achieve is that we actually own our logo. There have been problems with people using the logo, Parkview Dragons or Bluestone Barons, and there's been the school had no say-so in it. So as they go through this process, we actually own it, which the rights to distribute.
Okay.
So that'll be positive for us.
All right, great.
And it will be unique to Mecklenburg County.
Yes.
All right. Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much. I'll be in touch. And the last item that I have to share tonight is that as all of us have been looking to the General Assembly to pass a budget, we do not have a budget yet. Of course, that causes problems because it's very difficult for us to put out contracts and things like that until those things are in place. I've had several conversations with Mr. Carter, with the county administrator and some of the board members there, and they're all as anxious as we are, but it's putting us behind. If you have any pull with anybody at the General Assembly level, please don't hesitate to put the good word out there, because we are anxious to get this part taken care of so that we can settle some things for next year. And that's my comments for the evening.
All right, we'll move on to our committee reports. Is there a report from the Joint Education Capital Improvement Committee?
Not from Joint Education. No.
Well,
Okay.
there was, I'm sorry, there was one item I put in here that you will be voting on a telephone contract, and I thought that we might have Brian mention that for the benefit of the public tonight.
We can do it in finance.
We can do it in
since we're talking
finance as
about-
well, okay?
All right. Well, that's where we are next, the Finance Committee.
Okay, the Finance Committee met today at 5 o'clock, Mr. Chairman, and we reviewed the IP phone contract.
Yep, that's right.
And if, Mr. Dalton, would you like to come and just speak to the board about the ideas that we talked about in terms of what the IP phones are going to do for us?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, school board representatives, Mr. Nichols. This is basically the same, well, this is the project I brought to y'all in the Capital Improvement Committee that we had back in March. It basically consists of, we would like to try, what we're doing in this project is placing IP-based phones in every classroom in the elementary school level and a one-for-one replacement at the secondary level. Reason being is we've lost our E-rate on the Jive, which is a hosted solution that we're now using. And by losing our E-rate, the annual cost of the Jive has gone up to $43,000 a year. With the current solution that we're proposing is through Cisco. We will own the system. It will not be a hosted system anymore. And it's not just that it is cheaper in the long run, but we now, like I said, we own the systems, which increases our cybersecurity more within it. We can modify bail schedules per classrooms. It also gives us some redundancy as far as communication, one-on-one communication with those teachers in classrooms in case of an emergency. Informacast is available over it. It's just the functionality with having the phones in every classroom is outstanding to me. To me, this is one of the biggest benefits we've done for teachers and students in years here. I'm very excited about it. We plan on pushing it out as soon as school's out. This will take all summer to try to get this implemented in all of our schools. It is not a lease. We're financing it, 0% interest through Cisco for the next 5 years. With that being said, we are putting $76,000 down on it, which brings our annual payment to $40,000, where our Jive would have been $43,000. So we're getting a whole lot more bang for our buck, and it's pretty much a no-brainer as far as the cost behind it. And if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you right now.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton.
You're mighty
All right.
welcome.
Thank you.
So the Finance Committee looked over that contract, and we will have a recommendation when that action item comes up. We also looked at the bills for the month, and we also will share that recommendation with you at action. Thank you.
The Gifted, Talented Special Ed Health and Family Committee. Anything?
Government School Senior Symposium, Thursday, 8:15, and Peaceful in Alberta is Friday at 8:30. If you would like to attend, they want to demonstrate what they've done for 2 years,
Is that next Friday or this coming week?
the 19th and the 20th.
Thank you. The CT Career Technical Education Committee, Mr. Cyphers.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, school board members, Mr. Nichols. Tonight I present to you the 2018-2019 Carl Perkins CTE plan. This is the same plan that you all received last month for review, and tonight it is up for a vote for approval. The plan is due April the 29th. The only thing that could possibly change between now and when the plan is submitted is the final dollar amount. We have to go by the dollar amount that we were awarded for the current year that we're in, which is $88,852.06. Do you all have any questions in regards to the Perkins plan? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cyphers. The Athletic Committee?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Bluestone and Parkview now has varsity football coaches at each school. I know they're going through the process currently of getting their coaching staff together. Parkview's coach, he was the offensive coordinator. He knows the program, and he's looking forward to just transitioning back as the head coach. The Bluestone coach, he's from Averett University, and he's a young man. He's bringing a lot of excitement to the program. A lot of the players are already excited about it. I know Bluestone had their 7-on-7 tournament at Averett last year, which is a good link for us. The activity buses, Mr. Mabee has said they've been really utilized. I don't know how many thousands of miles all the buses have driven, but it has caused a lot of excitement with our programs. A lot of the teams are requesting them, fighting for them, actually. They want to ride that activity bus so they can charge their devices and have that comfortable ride. Fighting over who gets the bus and who doesn't get the bus. But it helps out with these long trips our student athletes have to take. Fishing, we have our fishing coordinator. They're going to be in the process of identifying the students who want to participate again. They have a big tournament. When is the tournament, Mr. Nichols?
The last month of April.
The last month of April, right
It's the
here. at
state
Oak-
championship
It's the
at
state
Oak-
championship. So if you're interested in seeing what a high school fishing team would look like, go to Okinichi during that weekend, and you have teams from across the state coming right here to compete. So in the off-season, our coach and coordinator, our fishing coordinator, is going to have to organize the youth who are interested. It's co-ed. They're going to have to design their shirts and get some practice. There are a lot of people in the community who are already talking about they have boats and they want to partner and work with this program. Of course, they're going to have to get through the paperwork process to make sure they're cleared to do that for us. Is that time of year. Softball teams, baseball, soccer, track, all these teams are competing pretty good. We have a lot of potential all-district and some all-state athletes. So this county has a serious base of young athletes, and if you look at some of the seniors of the month, a lot of those men and women were participants in those extracurricular activities. So we're moving, looking forward for any other ideas that the community may want to bring forward, any other activities that we can possibly partake in to give our youth another opportunity. That's all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Irvin. There's no report from the instruction committee tonight, so now we're
But-
to.
but if
Oh,
I-
I'm sorry.
We, Mr. Campbell couldn't be here unexpectedly, but he did leave me some information for the School Safety Committee.
Okay.
The School Safety Committee did meet earlier, and since we had our last meeting, there has actually been a regional school safety summit for Region 8. We participated, we had, Mr. Dalton and I attended on behalf of Mecklenburg County. Safety, of course, is in this day and time of primary concern for the whole nation. And we have had some teachers and others that have raised some questions about some of the safety and security issues that the Safety Committee actually anticipates having another meeting very soon, inviting some of the teachers to come in from each of the schools and participate in raising some questions about some of the real issues. Some of the things that we learned at the Security Summit, though, that I want to share and that we will be talking about with the next meeting is that one of the single most important issues for schools is the idea of single door entrances coming in and out. And at this point, there are almost no school systems that have that capacity unless they're new schools, because this is not something that was considered in the 50s and 60s and even into the 70s and 80s when schools were built. But as we have looked and visited with some of the newer schools that we are considering taking their information as we look, that single entrance for people to be able to come in, and in that case, it's possible for a metal detector to make a difference, whereas now it's impossible for metal detectors to make a real difference for us. We do have the benefit of each of our secondary schools having the SROs, that we have a very close working relationship. There were representatives from most of the police, local police at this summit, and they gave us a lot of very good information that we will be having, taking into consideration as we're moving in to the new buildings and what can be advantageous. Security, as you all know from having the interviews with the architects, is going to be a primary focus as we look at the new schools and how we build them, planning for the safety of the students. But there are a few things that we will be able to look at that are doing now as far as the exercises. Another one of the issues that they have mentioned is of critical importance is fighting complacency. We have already in place drills that we ask of our students to do for active shooter and other types of emergencies. Even though we have had more active shooters in our nation than that make us feel uncomfortable, the reality is schools are still one of the safest places for students to be in most emergencies. We just have to know what to do and not become complacent. And it was mentioned, and I had mentioned this before as well, probably the single most important thing that can happen is that people remain aware of their surroundings and what may be out of place in their surroundings and what's happening on social media. And fortunately, in the couple of issues that we've felt like we had to deal with, we had parents that were actively watching. And so we want to continue to engage the community and say, please look out for that. And then tomorrow night, I know specifically in the Chase City area, there's a meeting inviting people to come in from that community and say, what do we need to do as a community? And I applaud that effort and would invite anybody from the Chase City area to participate. I know I'm going over to talk about what the schools will be building into the new career center concept and how that's going to be specifically designed to tackle some of the issues related to gangs and so forth. But we will be having that meeting coming up as a safety committee very soon.
Okay. Thank you. We're now to public input. Do we have anyone signed up to speak?
No one, sir.
All right. All right, let's move on to our action items. The minutes from the special meeting held March 12th, 2018. May I have a motion that the school board approves the minutes of the special school board meeting held on March 12th, 2018?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Bailey, seconded by Mr. Edwards. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Abstain?
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. In regards to the regular school board meeting held March 19th, 2018, may I have a motion that the school board approves the minutes of the regular school board meeting held March 19th, 2018?
Make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Johnson, seconded by Ms. Garner. Roll call,
Ms.
please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Abstain?
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Abstain.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. In regards to the special meeting held March 28th, 2018, may I, oh, did I skip one?
Yeah, 26.
So there's 26. Yeah, I'm on C, I'm sorry. The minutes from the special meeting held March 26th, 2018, may I have a motion that the school board approves the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Edwards, seconded by Ms. Bailey. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Abstain?
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. The school, special meeting held March 28th, 2018. May I have a motion that the school board approves the minutes of the special school board meeting held on March 28th?
So
8th.
Second?
I have a motion from Ms. Garner, seconded by Mr. Sturtevant. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Abstain.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Abstain.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. May I have a motion that the school board approves the payment of the bills?
Mr. Chairman, the Finance Committee recommends the bills be paid as they were presented.
All right, the Finance Committee has made a motion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. May I have a motion that the school board approves the personnel recommendations?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion from Mr. Edwards, seconded by Mr. Palmer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. May I have a motion that the school board approves the policy updates?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Sturtevant, seconded by Mr. Johnson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. In regards to the Bluestone High School Student Leadership Overnight Field Trip, may I have a motion that the school board approves the VHSL Student Leadership Overnight Field Trip to North Chesterfield, Virginia, that was on April 13th and 14th, 2018.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Garner, seconded by Mr. Palmer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Now may I have a motion that the school board approves the 2018 Holiday Lake Bus request?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion from Mr. Edwards, seconded by Mr. Sturtevant. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Now may I have a motion that the school board approves the 2018-2019 Perkins Plan?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Bailey, seconded by Mr. Edwards. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. May I have a motion that the school board approves the 2018-19 Special Education Annual Plan?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Edwards, seconded by Mr. Palmer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Now, does the Finance Committee have a recommendation that the school board approves the IP phone contract?
Yes, we reviewed the contract. Mr. Ritchie, we're recommending that the school board approve that.
All right, we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. Now, is this architect's contract coming from a committee, a recommendation from a committee?
No. Not mine.
Okay.
Superintendent.
Sorry. Do I have a motion that the school board approves the architect's contract?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a recommendation from Mr. Edwards, seconded by Ms. Garner. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. And may I have a motion that the school board approves the bond payment?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Sturtevant, seconded by Mr. Edwards. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer? Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes. All right, reminders. April 19th, Feedmore School Market at Chase City Elementary. What time is that?
4 to 6.
4 o'clock? And that, from what I understand, that went very...
4:30?
4:30.
Till 6.
4:30 to 6? Thank you, sir. The VSBA Spring Forum, which is being held in Chase City Justice Center on the 23rd. The 25th, Administrative Professionals Day. The 26th, the Art Expo at Bluestone High School. The 28th, Region 8 School Bus Rodeo. May 1st, Bus Driver Appreciation Day. May 8th, Senior of the Month Banquet, 6:15. May 12th, SVCC Graduation at the Keysville campus. May 16th, 6th grade promotion, Parkview Middle. Senior Awards at Parkview Senior High and Bluestone Senior High. The 17th, 7th grade promotion, Parkview Middle. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade promotion, Bluestone Middle School. The 19th, graduation at Bluestone Senior High at 9 a.m. and Parkview Senior High at 11 a.m. The 21st, the regular school board meeting, and that's a teacher work day. 22nd and 23rd are professional development days, and May 28th is Memorial Day. Now to board member remarks. Maybe we can start with Mr. Johnson.
I have nothing much.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to take a minute and thank Mr. Ritchie and some of his fellow employees at Southside Virginia Community College. He had a book drive over there for gently used books, and boy, did they come through. Probably close to 500 books that we're going to share, Mr. Taylor, with all of your families that come to your Feedmore events. So I want to just thank them, and there are probably more on the way that I hear about. So we have a book for every kid in your school. It's great news. I also want to say congratulations to 3 students from the forensics team at Parkview High School who placed on the state level. Nyla Costello came in first in her category. Catherine Mosier, I believe, placed second, and Bryce Watson placed third. Hope I got that right. Also, congratulations to all the elementary and middle school kids for their DI work. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that's just great work. And Also, just a shout out to the central office spelling bee team that were so impressive. Mr. Dixon, please stand if you're still in the room. He's carrying the hardware for Dr. Matney and Mr. Nichols. I do believe he gets the MVP award on that team, from what I hear. I wasn't there. And also the Parkview High School team, the picture in the paper so far, the Clampetts, really? I mean, that was just hilarious. But that's a great fundraiser for McBeep, and we're so grateful for their support of our school division. Also, congratulations to all the seniors of the month. And Tariq made me cry tonight because the last time I saw him, he was in silent lunch in the 2nd grade. And he and I had a deep discussion that day while he was in silent lunch. The teacher let me get him out of silent lunch. And it's remarkable what these children can do when they set their mind to it. And I'm very proud of all of them, but especially Tariq. And also, congratulations to Ms. Morris. That was very touching tonight. She deserves the award, and we're very proud of her. And I'm so glad to know that we have an Averett Fellow alum that's going to be coaching at Bluestone High School. Go Averett Cougars. That's where I went
Have you
to
seen
school.
him yet?
Huh?
Have you seen him yet?
No, I haven't.
You're going to be looking.
They didn't have a football team when I was there. It's that long ago. I'm done.
Okay, Mr. Edwards?
Those children from Clarksville Elementary School, I know that I've talked to some of the parents, and they really need money. It's really expensive for them to go on this trip and take these children. So if you get out in the community and any of you can talk to people and some of the businesses to try to chip in some money to help the parents go, because the parents, they need chaperones. The parents need to be there with these young children, so they really need money if anybody can help. So if we just spread the word, maybe that'll get done. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Palmer.
Yes, I'd like to congratulate all of our students that came up to be recognized tonight. I'm very proud of them. And also our teachers that were chosen tonight, and especially one, I will not call her name, but she was trying to embarrass me because she was one of my students.
Thanks, Mr. Palmer. Ms. Garner?
Yes, the Destination Imagination, according to Ms. Dalton, they will present their project at school.
Ooga booga.
If you would like to go and see it. I went last year for their presentation. Bring your checkbook. It's really nice to donate. And those kids are really excited when they know that they're going somewhere to present their poem. But also thank all the teachers. It's only a few more days, and you can sleep the rest of the summer.
Thank you, Ms. Garner. Mr. Sturdivant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Averett University has come a long ways. They had a grass football field, and now they have an artificial turf and a new stadium out there. Mr. John, is it Harry or John?
It's Harry John.
Harry John. He's a big one. He's about 6'5", so you can't miss him. I also like to say that when we talk about alumni, I look around and I look at some of our administrators who are alumni of this county. Some of our current administrators were students when I first came here. Then they became coaches, so it's good to see that the strong alumni is still strong in Mecklenburg County. I also like to thank Mr. Taylor for the work you're doing at Chase City Elementary. The programs from teaching the young men how to do ties and the formal dinners to your after-school project. That goes a long ways. The question keeps coming up, are we going to ever build this school in Mecklenburg County? And I would say once this board votes on the architect, that's going to be a big step. And that step was done tonight, so I would like to thank the board for making that big jump to hiring an architect. I also look forward to have a meeting with our architect so that we can have a candid discussion about what we want on our school site that this community needs and desires, and having a candid conversation about it as we can move forward. That's what I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sturdivant. Mr. Edwards?
I had one more thing. I'm never finished. If any of you come through Clarksville downtown, I want you to look at what the building trades class from Bluestone High School has done. You know, I've been here a long time, and I'm in the business, and we used to build birdhouses and that's all the kids could learn how to build was a birdhouse. These kids are framing, they know how to, they're cutting rafters for hip roofs. I mean, their teacher is fantastic, the kids are excited, we have male and female students, and I went out and watched them working, and I'm gonna tell you, they're well-behaved, well-mannered, and it's one of the programs that I'm just so pleased that we're doing, and I know it's going on both ends of the county, but next month, when we have the bands live under this stage, under this building, it's gonna really say a lot about our Mecklenburg County. And I just want to thank these kids for what they're doing.
Mr. Edwards, you can't hire them until they graduate.
I've already got them on retainer.
Mr. Ritchie, there is
Yes,
one,
Ms.
talking
Garner.
about our students and their work. If you come through Chase City in the Pocket Park, there's a piece of artwork that our students from Bluestone also did. So
Okay, great. Our students are staying busy. And I appreciate Mr. Taylor and Chase City Elementary for hosting that event feeding with the food bank and the books. The people at the college were excited to have the opportunity to support that. They acted like I was doing them a favor, so they were really happy, and the books are gonna keep coming. So we really appreciate you hosting that, and from what I understand, it was very successful, and I'm gonna come to the next one to see it for myself. I'm looking forward to it. So if nobody has anything else, can I have a motion that we adjourn? All right, all in favor?
Aye.